Okay. Well, today is Wednesday, April the 13th, 2022. My name is Karen Neurohr. I'm a librarian at Oklahoma State University, and I am here in Wynona, Oklahoma. Well, we're not in town. We're a little ways out of town. And I'm at the shop of Mr. John D. Israel, and he is a bit maker and spur maker, and we're here to do an interview today. And so I want to thank you, first of all, for allowing me to come into your place here and interview you for the library project. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So I want to start with having you tell me a little bit about your early years. Where were you born? And what's your birthday?
12/14/39. I was born in Tahlequah, Oklahoma at the Hastings Indian Hospital.
And what was your father's name?
Gabe Israel.
Gabe Israel. Was he from around Tahlequah?
Yes, just north of it.
Okay. And what was your mother's name?
Bonnie Potter.
And where was she from?
She was born and raised at Fort Dodge, Iowa.
Right. So, do you have brothers and sisters?
I got 2 sisters. That's all, thank God.
So, where are you in the family?
I'm the oldest one.
You're the oldest, so you have 2 little sisters.
Well, the one next to me, she's always been the boss.
Oh, has she?
She's pretty bossy.
Oh, my.
And she kind of runs everything.
Well, what about the little one?
Oh, she just kind of sees what's going to happen and goes along with it.
Well, what are your sisters' names?
She's red-headed and black eyes.
Oh. Well, you have blue eyes, don't you?
I don't know what color they are.
What are your sisters' names?
The one next to me is Bobette.
Bobette.
And then my little sister's name is Jane.
Jane. Do they live around here?
Yeah, they live close. Bobette lives in Collinsville and Jane lives in Sand Springs.
Okay. So, what was it like growing up around Tahlequah?
Well, I don't know because I was just born there, and they moved north to the reservation at Kenwood.
At Kenwood, Oklahoma?
In the reservation up there, and then during the Depression, they left like so many Okies did, and we went to Colorado, stayed there 2 or 3 years, and then went to California.
So, did you go to school in California?
I started the school in California.
Mm-hmm. Where were you all living then?
Santa Maria.
What do you remember about that school?
Well, there was a lot of Mexicans and Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I started in a little Danish town called Los Olivos. It was quite a bit different than that school at Santa Maria.
Mm-hmm.
But I was pretty young when we left there, about 10, when we come back to Oklahoma.
So that would have been around 1949 when you came back? Did you move back to the Tahlequah area?
We lived north of Tahlequah, Twin Oaks, and Little Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 30 miles north of Tahlequah.
So did you go back to school there then at Twin Oaks area?
Went to Leach.
Leach School? Mm-hmm. What grade were you in? when you went back there?
I think about the 3rd or 4th grade, as well as I can remember. It's a mile to school, and we walked to school. It was just a one-room schoolhouse,
It was.
and 8 grades in one room.
What do you remember about your teacher?
It was a man teacher. His name was Gene Winfield,
Gene Winfield.
and his brother or cousin was in that magazine, that woman's magazine. What's the name of that? I can't think what, but his picture was in there in Riverton, Wyoming. And he had down kind of by the bottom, kind of under his horse, and had my bits on.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
I've seen that picture a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you who showed it to me first, Wayne, was Patillo. It was a kind of a cooking magazine, seemed like. A woman's magazine.
Maybe Ladies' Home Journal or one of those kind of magazines.
Maybe so.
Good housekeeping.
So take me back to your one-room schoolhouse. What was that like? Was your teacher strict?
Oh yeah, they were. They'd take you out behind the schoolhouse and work you over with one of them willers. There's a willow tree back there.
What kind of things would kids do to have to get worked over? What would kids get in trouble for?
Oh, just like kids do. I'll be talking and raising Cain in the classroom. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But there wouldn't be but 6 or 7 in each class.
Mm.
Probably 20 or 20 something in the whole school.
Did you carry your lunch to school?
Yes.
What kind of things would you take for lunch?
Oh, whatever we had. A sandwich or piece of rabbit or maybe a banana.
Mm-hmm.
And the water, they had a long pipe, maybe 10 foot long, that had holes in it. And somebody'd pump it, and then everybody else would drink out of them holes.
Hmm.
Had a well outside.
Mm-hmm. What kind of games did you play at recess?
Basketball was big over there, and it still is. I don't even know if they have football over there in them little schools. I doubt if they do. In fact, they probably don't have little schools over there anymore. They're probably bigger.
Mm-hmm. So when you came back from California and you moved there and you were going to school, and in what grade did it go up to?
That school at Leach, I think, went to the 6th grade. And then Lowry went to the 8th grade. I went there too, to Lowry.
Lowry?
And they went to the 8th grade. And then the high school went to Little Kansas.
What was high school like?
I don't know. I never did go to high school there.
So did you stop going to school?
No, we moved back over here in this area around Skytook.
Mm-hmm.
We moved around Sperry or Skytook. My dad worked at Lee C. Moore's Didn't you have a nephew or something, or was it your nephew, or was it your boy worked for Lee Seymour, Wayne?
Grandson.
Grandson? Didn't they build drilling rigs?
So your dad, what kind of work was your dad doing?
He started welding there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, let's see, I got to roping when we lived there. The people we rented a house from, their boy roped, and I got to roping there. Of course, I've roped all my life. Then when I got to be in my 20s, I'd been on several ranches, and I went to work for a man that was a real good horseman, and I got real interested in cutting. And I got into cutting for about 10 years. And I was real fortunate. I got a hold of 2 or 3 good horses that I could win with. Nowadays, there's a lot of good horses. In them days, you might get 1 out of 50 that would make a cutting horse. And a guy told me now you get 10, 5 of them will cut, but they won't all be winners. But you might get 1 out of them that was a winner.
Mm-hmm. So where did you finish high school at then?
Skytook.
At Skytook. Were you working when you were in high
I
school?
worked for my English teacher. That's the way I got through school.
Oh, tell me about that.
Well, ain't much to tell, really. I never did like school.
You didn't. Mm-hmm. You like being outside better? Mm-hmm. And when did you work on some different ranches? Were you doing?
Through high school, I kind of shod horses.
You did. How did you learn how to do that?
My dad. I've turned that old forge for him when I was that tall.
You did.
Well, he shod horses.
Mm-hmm.
He shod horses in California. And, well, he'd shod horses all his life.
What did his parents do?
Sawmill.
Around Tahlequah?
North of Tahlequah. They live north of Tahlequah around Little Kansas and Twin Oaks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they had a grist mill. They made cornmeal. Maybe it was something to do with their sawmill.
What was your granddad's name?
Dave Israel.
And what about your grandmother?
Her name was Minnie.
Minnie. So I've read that you have Cherokee heritage. Is that from your grandparents?
Yes.
Through that
Yes,
grandpa?
from my dad's side was Cherokee.
Mm-hmm. Do you know much about that history? Did they talk about your Cherokee ancestors when you were growing up?
Not a lot. It wasn't very popular in them days for an Indian to marry a white woman. It just wasn't well thought of.
And so, are you talking about your grandparents? or your parents?
My parents.
Your parents. So did you know your grandparents? Were they still alive when you were young?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did your mother work or have a trade?
Just raised us kids.
Mm-hmm.
She had her hands full, I guess.
Well, look, thinking back about your grandparents and your Cherokee heritage, were there any Cherokee traditions that you can think of that you knew growing up?
Well, we eat a lot of squirrel.
You did?
They claimed that squirrel broth would cure about anything.
How was it cooked?
Well, Nona, how would you fix a squirrel mostly? Fry it? I know
Never.
a young one, I guess you'd fry it.
You'd fry it.
And then them older ones, I guess you'd make dumplings. Remember squirrel dumplings?
Mm-hmm. Did you hunt and fish when you were a boy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could skin a rabbit in 2 or 3 minutes.
You could.
Cottontail.
Mm-hmm.
Several years ago, I said, Mom, I'd like to have a cottontail and a pan of biscuits and a skillet of white gravy. So it snowed, pretty deep snow, and so that next morning I took off walking, and I didn't walk 100 feet, and there was a big fat cottontail got up. I kind of whistled at him, got him stopped, and shot him in the head. I cleaned him, took it in there for her, and she fried it and made me a skillet of white gravy, and I had a feast. Oh, that was good.
That sounds like that's a good memory. And homemade biscuits? Yeah. Well, what was summertime like for you as a boy?
Well, I don't remember a lot except when I got 12 or 13, old enough to roam. I roped all I could.
Were you calf roping or team roping?
They didn't have team roping in them days. Not here in this country. They did in California.
Oh.
But they didn't. They wasn't any team roping went on here. About everybody in them days roped calves.
Mm-hmm. So when you were in California, did your family own horses?
No, but my dad worked on a horse outfit.
Then when you moved back to Oklahoma, did you all get some horses?
Yeah, we always had horses here.
Mm-hmm.
You could buy them then for about $25.
Did you have a saddle when you were a boy for riding horses? Mm-hmm.
Not a good saddle though.
No. What was the first good saddle that you had?
I was about 14 or 15, and I don't even remember now where I got it, but I got a real good saddle that was made in Bahuska, Osage Saddle Shop.
Okay. Did you ride that with that saddle a long time?
I rode it, I guess, till I was about 16. And then I traded it for a saddle that had a little more front end on it than that saddle did. It didn't have much front end. And then I went to work up there for Miss Lowry at Lenape, Oklahoma. When I was 17, just got out of high school, and I went to work up there for her, and I needed that little bit deeper saddle.
Well, tell me about her ranch.
Well, there was about 14,000 acres, and there was 2 pastures, more or less, and there's about 600 cattle in each pasture. And then she had steers, and her nephew was Schultz Webster, and he run the ranch. Fred Lowry had died the year before in '56, and they had a lot of horses and cattle.
Did you enjoy working there?
Oh yeah, yeah. I went there. I was the horse breaker when I went there. And I got along all right, but I got bucked off a lot too. And wasn't always close to the barn either.
Did they let you help with the cattle work too?
Oh yeah, I was expected to help. Anything they done.
Mm-hmm.
We fed with the team and wagon, and I'd harness the team. I'd feed the horses before breakfast, and then harness the team and saddle my horse after breakfast and go across the road to that Quonset and throw a ton of feed on the front of the wagon. In them days, all the feed was in 100-pound sacks. And I'd put a ton of feed up in front of the wagon. I didn't weigh but 125 pounds. I don't know how I done it, but I don't ever remember having any trouble. And then I put a ton of feed up in front of the wagon, and then put 6 sacks of meal and 6 sacks of bran on the back of the wagon, and drive out to some troughs there close to that Quonset, and hobble that one mule, and then get on my horse and go gather that pasture. Had calves on it, and I'd gather that pasture and then pour that bran and meal out in them troughs to them calves. And oh, it seemed like that wind blowed up there every day, seemed like. But I found out if I'd put that bran, pour it out first and then put the meal on top of it, they wouldn't be as much blow away. That wind would just blow that bran away. George, you know how light that bran is. In fact, I don't believe them 100-pound, I don't believe them tow sacks would hold 100 pounds of bran, would they? Would they, Wayne?
It's light stuff.
I can't remember it. If they was big though.
So was it mules that pulled the wagon?
Small mules.
Small mules? Then after you'd get the calves fed, then what would your day be like?
I'd go back across the road and go out that gate to that rock house pasture and kind of go rattling up through there and calling, and we'd feed in about 3 places. And they'd be 2 or 3 gathering, and then somebody driving the wagon and go up there, and them cattle was real wild, especially them Mexican cattle. They wouldn't eat, and we'd start feeding like this, and dropping it out the back of that wagon. One would be driving, the other would be dropping that cake out, and kind of get a rough count on them cattle and pour them out about 2 pounds apiece. And we'd be till noon feeding. And we'd just feed in a circle like that, and then try to hold them wilder cattle in the center of that circle, and so they'd eat. And I can remember them cattle, them wilder cattle, especially them horned cattle, would just stand there with their head up. They'd get thin too.
You didn't want them to get thin. They needed to eat, didn't they?
Well, they needed some protein.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember gathering shoat cut off like maybe 20 or 30 of them thinnest cattle. We kind of kept them up around the barn in the horse trap, and would kind of, they got a little bit gentle, and would feed them. But now, we was talking about dehorning them cattle won't go. They'd dehorn them cattle. Oh, that was awful. But they'd dehorn them cattle, and that really hurt them. Big cattle.
Why would they dehorn them?
Well, they just brought more going to feed on them. A lot of them cattle now, we wouldn't do that every year. A lot of them cattle was old roping cattle that they'd kept.
Did they have a bunkhouse that you stayed in there with other cowboys?
Yeah, but there wasn't many on that place.
Mm-hmm.
There. We didn't have but about maybe four hands at the most, counting Shoat when he would be there and help.
Mm-hmm. Then was there a cook that would make breakfast and lunch and supper for the hired hands?
I remember when I first went there, Miss Larry done all the cooking and feeding us. They said that Clem McSpadden said she'd fed more world champion cowboys than anybody. But then they hired a couple there, and they got to be like folks, my parents to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I ate with them 3 times a day.
So how long did you work on that Lowry Ranch?
A couple of years.
So were you about 19 or 20 then? Then you went someplace else?
Yeah, I come over here at Pahuska and stayed up to Garrett's for part of a year. And they were good to me, and he was a real good horseman.
What was his first name?
Orban Garrett.
Orban Garrett.
He really helped me a lot.
Were you competing in roping or anything around that time?
Oh yeah, I've been going to ropings for several years. in them days they had junior roping and they had Cuckleburr roping. And I went with them. I went to them for several years.
What's the difference between, what was it called? What was that second roping called?
Cuckleburr roping. That would be like a C roping, like A, B, and C roping. And you got A ropers, B ropers, and C ropers. And it would have been lower than the open roping would be the professional, the ones that had roped more, better ropers.
Mm-hmm. Did you have your own horse at that time?
Yeah, I did.
Was it a horse that you had trained?
Well, I guess if that's what you want to call it. I could have done better if I'd have known more when I was a kid growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't around the right people when I was a kid growing up. They could roll, but they just wasn't like Orban Garrett.
So what did you learn from Mr. Garrett? What kind of things did he teach you about horses?
Well, you're a real good horse. You didn't practice on him. And you might rope one or two a day on him, but you took real good care of him, and you didn't practice on him. A calf roping horse and a cutting horse are the easiest two horses they are to run. And it's so much fun, people won't quit. They do too much on them, them real good ones. Because he's going to do the best he can. And you don't wear him out. It's kind of like a fellow professional cutting horse man told me one time. He said, John, if I had you building fence for me, and every time I come by there, I'd tell you to go on, keep digging them holes. Said you'd soon get tired of it. Said a horse is the same way. When he does good, you quit him.
Is that where you started learning about cutting horses when you worked there?
No, I went to work for a man named Harley Thompson. And he was a real good horseman. And that's when I got real interested in cutting.
Mm-hmm.
And he taught me a lot about riding horses.
Where was Harley Thompson's place at?
When I worked for him, he was lived between Skytook and Collinsville. And this man he worked for, the Solo Auto Glass and Plate, they had all that Cooper country rented. About 6,000 acres rented north of Highway 20.
Mm-hmm.
And they had it stocked with old cows. That a couple guys had put him in the cow business. Some of them had teeth and some of them didn't. They'd got them everywhere. And I think they all had foot rot. When I went to work there, that grouse broke. We'd been in an awful drought. Wayne was at 57 when that drought broke. In 57, that drought broke. It rained. And I think everything on the place had their foot on. But that was real good country to rope in. it wasn't extremely rocky, and there wasn't a lot of brush. In fact, some of them pastures didn't have any brush in them. But our ropes I'd give out. But that's where I really got interested in cutting, was when I worked there for Harley.
Is that when you first started competing?
Right after that, probably a year or two after that, I come up with that real good horse that Garrett's raised. This horse was born in Craig, Colorado, and he was end up coming back down here, and I broke him when he was 2 past, and I could tell that I'd never rode a horse like him. Oh, he was a super horse. He was so good. And if I'd have known then what I know now, I could have done better than I did with him. He made a good horse in spite of me.
What would you have done differently?
Well, I wouldn't have put as much pressure on him, for one thing. He was one of them kind of horses that was, he'd give you everything he had. But he was well bred. He was out of an own son of Leo and out of a plotted mare. Well, in them days, how could you get anything better than that?
Was that, how long did you get to ride that horse?
I think I sold him when he was about 4 or 5. And I broke him, and then I worked him, and he really made a good horse pretty quick. And I'd feed on him. When I come over here, I didn't feed with the wagon anymore because I had little cake houses in my pastures, and in them days we fed horseback. We'd ride from pasture to pasture and feed out of them little cake houses we had in them pastures. And I'd kind of work him away from the herd in them when I was feeding, and that's how I trained him mostly.
Would he want to work the cattle when you were trying to feed?
Well, I'd work him before I poured the feed out.
Mm-hmm.
And in them days, them cattle was all pretty well broke because you gathered them horseback. And when they got to the feed grounds, then I'd just kind of hold one away from the feed grounds on him. He'd just pat that frozen ground. These cowboys today probably wouldn't know what to do on that frozen ground.
They probably wouldn't.
But I don't ever remember crippling a horse. And I just let him be real easy and just real right and not do anything to where he'd have to fall.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't the only one I trained. I had several horses, but he was my best one.
So, tell me about the getting into the cutting horse competitions.
Well, seemed like I won about the first 8 or 10 I went to with that little horse. He was just so good, and it was easy for him to do it, and he had such a pretty style, and seemed like I won about 10 of the first 8 or 10 novice classes I took him to, and in them days I didn't have anything, and I was offered so much money for him that I thought I ought to sell him. That was a mistake. I should have never sold him. But I was pretty lucky to get another one.
Mm-hmm.
But she wasn't as good a pony, but I got to win with her. I won quite a bit with her too.
Was she broke when you got her? She was already broke.
Yeah, I was real lucky to get her so quick because and she had a kind of a unique style, and I got to win quite a bit with her.
When you went to these competitions, were they in, boy, that wind is picking up, isn't it? Were they in Oklahoma mostly? Did they do a lot of that around here, in this area?
They did. There was a lot of cuttings around here. Oklahoma Cutting Horse Association was, that's about where I won all these trophies, was around, I won the state and then won the area. And I was just real lucky to get to win as much as I did.
Was that a fun time?
It sure was. They couldn't have a cutting that I didn't think I ought to be there.
When in between, when you weren't doing that, were you doing day work?
Some, but I rode horses for people for all my life. I rode as far back as I can remember. I rode horses for people.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was showing them cutting horses, well, I was training at home all the time.
Would people bring their horses to you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Were you living here then?
Well, I've lived here since 1970. This is a real good place to train horses because it's sandy.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a good cutting pen. It was sandy. That old long barn, ain't much of it left anymore to these old barns, but we've had over 20 horses here. I had there was a kid here working for me, and he was with me when I started making the bids.
What year was that?
1970.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I made my first bid in 1970.
How did you learn how to do that?
Well, I just kind of taught myself. My dad he could make things, and he could weld, and I'd lay one out and hold it, and he'd weld it. That's where I kind of got started, and then I kind of started welding them up myself. I still ain't a good welder, but I can kind of put one of them together. But now Wayne, he's a professional welder. He's done it for, how many years you welded, Wayne?
40 years.
So his you can see what he makes there. They finished. And I don't finish mine. Mine are pretty rough. But I'm so far behind. I have to do the best job I can in the least time, because I'm just so far behind.
And you made spurs for a while? Was that harder, easier?
Well, I had a little more time then, and after you got a pair made, they were pretty nice to look at them and know you made them. But it just takes a long time to make a pair of spurs. Now I have made a few. Make a pair that's easy to make, like 2 letters, easy letters to make, and mail them by that day. I have done that a time or two, but hardly ever. I usually make them one day and then silver them the next. Usually take 2 days to make a pair. But I just got so far behind on my bits, and I'd way rather make the bits. When you make somebody a pair of bits, they're going to use them. And they didn't always use the spurs. A lot of them would hang them up or put them in a drawer and shut the drawer up. But usually, especially, I kind of know who's going to use my bits and who ain't. And I kind of put them collectors and traders on the back burner. I can tell if somebody calls me and orders a complete bridle, I know they're going to use it, so I'll kind of do what I can to get it to them. I tell them now, don't hold your breath till you get this. I'll do the best I can.
So we're here in your shop recording this, and there are a lot of things around here. How long have you been working in this shop here?
This building right here since 1981. I had an old building across the way here for 10 years. It was just something it worked, but it wasn't very good.
So this is better?
Oh yeah. It wasn't half this big.
Oh.
Had a wood stove in it. It'd be cold when you'd get in there every morning and you'd build a fire. And the next thing you done, you had the door open and the window open. It'd be too hot. But it's nice to come down here with this little stove in here. It's a lot nicer than being horseback on the backside at daylight. And I've done both. That little stove, it'll come on in the night. When it gets cold, it's got thermostat on it. And it's pretty nice to come in here, and it's warm enough. I usually turn it up, but it is nice to come in here. It's pretty warm.
That's good. You work Monday through Friday?
Yeah, sometimes I work every day.
You do? Saturday and the weekend?
Sometimes I go with my nephew quite a bit. He goes and ropes.
Oh.
And I go with him quite a bit just because I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Is he a calf roper?
Steer roper.
Steer roper?
He ties them steers down.
Oh. Could I see you work a little bit and see what that's like? Let me make
Well,
sure this
I
is out of
need
your way.
to.
You need to get up and move.
I need to work a lot, not just a little bit. Well, this is like a different world, Wayne, to have these new goggles.
So you have to have your goggles and your gloves to do your work, is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I'm kind of like Wayne says, these glasses, when I started wearing glasses, that's the best thing I ever done. It just saves your eyes.
Mm-hmm. What are you looking for when you're doing that?
Who am I working for?
What are you looking for? What are you trying to do, and what are you watching for?
I'm just having to finish around the mouthpiece where there goes in their lips.
Are you filing it smooth?
Yes, I'll just go over it once again with that chainsaw file just to smooth it down, because if you don't, it'll kind of rub them a little bit raw. Not bad, but it will. My knuckles ain't big and my hands never bother me. I never have any arthritis or anything. As many years as I've done this, and they don't bother me any.
You had the same tools for a long time?
Oh, I've got about 5 hand tools,
Mm-hmm.
and every one of them's got its own job, and one of them won't work for the other one's job. Down to the hill here, just been here a short time. He's supposed to be the best rawhider in the world.
That's what you were saying.
He made a rope and brought over here, 80 foot long, and never was spliced. I said, how do you get rawhide that long? He said, go around and around.
What's his name?
Jay Adcock,
Jay Adcock?
he's been all out in that northwest country where you talk about. Short stories on things I've seen here in Wynona. Some of them might have to be edited. These little old towns like this, I think them inspectors just kind of go by them.
Think they go by him.
Well, we try to work with them.
There's a man comes over here, he's a good spur maker. I think he's about one of the best in the country. And he does pretty silver. He can engrave it. And he's so good, he'll help me. If I call him and say, Mike, I need something cut out of silver, he'll be over here the next day. And I'm going to show you what he done for me last. Smells good to me.
The smoke does.
That cigarette smoke.
Mm-hmm.
Them sure nice boots you got, Karen.
Well, thank you. These are my fancy boots.
They're what?
They're my fancy boots.
Joy Ray Dimwit, he'd call them drinking boots.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another outfit and I guess in Fairfax it used to have that blucher boot. They made some pretty good boots, I think, down there in they used to.
I wore them over 50 years.
Is that right?
In fact, I got a pair in my camper, I think, that they're good. I just seem like I can't wear boots anymore. With this hip, it's too much weight.
Mm-hmm.
So do a lot of people come visit you while you're working?
Almost every day, there's people here. Once in a while, maybe a couple days a week, there won't be anybody here. Now Monday, I usually come down here and wrap a package or two up and mail them in Barnesdale to out wherever I need to mail them. And then I go from there on to my kinfolks in Skytook. They got a couple little boys about that tall, and I go over there and be with them every day. And then we all meet at Red's about 4 o'clock. And then I bank over at Skytook too. And we'll all get together. But about 5 or 6 of us, couples, will get together there at Red's at Skytook. Then I come home.
Mm-hmm.
The way this time is, I've been getting in just right, just before dark.
Do you enjoy having people come visit while you're working?
Oh yeah. If there's a lot of times there's more than one comes, and if there's 2, well, I gotta go ahead and weld. But I can do about everything else with just one person here.
Mm-hmm. Do you use any kind of a template or anything when you're working, or do you just have everything up here in your head because you've done it for so long for what you make?
Oh, I don't have any blueprints or the only jigs I got is ones Wayne's made me.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Page made me one too that I use quite a bit on them conch bits. I use it a lot on them conch bits. It's much easier for me. I got to where I couldn't hardly turn one of them. They're hard to turn anyway. And I got to where I just couldn't hardly turn one. But since I got that jig, I can turn several of them. That's them on that coat bit I'm making now.
Mm-hmm.
There was a guy come by here from Gainesville. His name was Tesher, Rod Tesher. Wayne, was you here when he had that trailer loaded bridle bits? He's the one that left them jigs that you took a couple of them to your house. You wouldn't hear. He called me and he said, I'm gonna come see you. I thought, okay. He was from Gainesville. And he come by here and said he had a trailer, I know as big as this shop, a horse trailer. And he had all them bits on racks and rolls that he could roll them out. And he was going to a big trade show. Did you see him, Wayne? Had all them bits. My goodness, he had a lot of bits.
So this piece of leather that you punched and you cut out, it has your brand on it. It's a JD. How long ago did you register that brand?
I guess in 1970.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's even registered here in Oklahoma, but it is at Texas and Southwestern.
Mm-hmm.
There was a girl come by here the other day, little old high school girl, and she had made her a pair of earrings out of a couple of. Was you here, Wayne?
Out of some leather like this?
Got a couple of these.
Yeah, I'd give them to her.
Well, thank you for this.
I drop one of them in every package.
Do you? Okay. Have you been doing that for a long time? Mm-hmm. You have different trademarks that you put on the things that you make? No? Do you sign them or anything?
Yeah, did you see this one?
I didn't. George will get it.
It's stamped.
It's stamped.
I don't know. You can probably read it. It's stamped and got the date on it.
Oh, okay.
On the mouthpiece.
Oh, right there. Okay, I see that. So your brand is on here?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Should say JD Israel and have the date.
Oh, okay.
Now that one's old.
That's more.
It's
Do they
kinda worn.
they wear down?
Well, they don't hardly wear off, but all I can see is my brand on this.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something else on there too, because other people have seen it. I think it's 81. I can find it.
Mm-hmm. Is that the last thing you do? Is stamp them? Mm-hmm. What does that feel like to get to that point?
Well, it makes me feel good that I'm done with that one.
Mm-hmm.
The week before last, I had a real good week. I don't know how I did it either. Now, last week I had people come down here from the state of Ohio and vacation down here at my place.
Oh, they did.
3 guys.
Mhm.
They have for over 30 years.
Oh.
They come every year and vacation here. They're pretty well acquainted around here.
I bet they are.
And but week before last, I think I got out 6 pair of bits,
Oh.
and that's a good week for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, there I see the date. Mm-hmm.
Did you find it on there, Nona?
See 85 on there. And 785 is the month and the year. Do you put the month on there or just the year?
Put the month and the day and the year.
The month and the day and the year.
You know that serves as a number.
Mm-hmm.
People will call me and Don, I see a pair of Spurs on the internet or a bridle on the internet, and they'll have a date, and I can look in my books and see who I made it for.
Oh. So you've kept
I got
all
a
your
stack
books.
of books that deep, and
Mm-hmm.
52 years worth of them that I've kept.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a newspaper article from 1988 that said that the bits that you were selling then were selling for between $45 and $150. How has that changed? That was quite a while ago.
Well, too many people wanted me to go up, and I have went up a little bit the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting $80, I think, for my easiest bit I make,
Mm-hmm.
and I get 150 if they got a curl in the center of them, and that's what I'm getting today. I get 110 for the shank bits I make, unless they come by and pick them up. Then I just get 100. But I'll tell you, I don't want to have to get any more because I'll feel like I have to do more with them.
Oh.
You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And when it's kind of like that old boy over here, not Claremore, but Barnesdall. We was all standing around the table. I know one other bit maker, spur maker there, named Howard Fellman. Wayne, in that drawer there right behind you, get that spur out of there and I'll show it to him.
What is it?
Them spurs.
In here,
Yeah,
top one or?
I think so, but it might be the bottom one. I'm not for sure. They're them real nice spurs. He made them for me. But anyway, he said it's about dusk. And
The one with Dawn on them?
no, they just got my brand on them.
Those don't have nothing on
Maybe they're in that other drawer, Wayne.
them. Hope they don't snake in there.
You know, I got a snake here.
You do?
He goes from the well house to the shop. Oh, he's about as long as near that wall. He's a black one.
Black snake.
What other cowboy gear have you tried making over the years? Or horse gear?
Well, I make some little bitty brands. See all up down the wall?
I do see those. I was going to ask you about those around your door and around.
I make them. I don't make them anymore much.
Uh-huh.
About all them people dead that I've made them for.
Huh.
Wayne, I'm wondering if my klepto's been over here.
They ain't in there.
Maybe they're in here. That's the best pair I ever made right there. And never have finished them for that kid. Here's a single. That's about the only single I got left. I hate to say it, but I got a klepto here.
That's not good.
He's about told me blind.
Huh.
That's I think that's the best pair I ever made. And I got that big soft rowel in them because this kid I'm making them for, he's just learning how to ride.
Mm-hmm.
He done pretty good. But I didn't want him to jump the ditch and stick the old pony behind in the belly and get bucked on.
Mhm.
So I thought maybe he'd last longer with them big old soft rowels.
Why don't you let him sit back over there where I have the camera, George?
Let me see. Wayne, let me take a little peek in there. That one thing, that box is in the way. Here's one of my finished bits.
Here we go.
Here's the first pair of spurs I ever made.
Okay, I'm going to have you talk about those after you sit back down, okay?
Okay. There's a bit of mine that's got bent up, and you know somebody left that at my booth up there at Pahaska. And I don't know whose it is. Boy, Wayne, I don't know. I'm worried now. I'm afraid maybe my kleptos got them.
Somebody liked them too much.
Well, he just. Well, and he don't even have any use for them. They tell me them kleptos, what turns them on, what winds their clock, is getting something and not getting caught. You can drop them back in that bucket if you want to.
Well, I might have you talk about those
Okay.
after we get on the camera. Here we go.
Oh boy.
Okay. So this. Why don't you hold that and show me that on the camera? Describe that spur.
Well, there's quite a story behind this spur here. This kid at Lawton, he come up to me and he said, "Uncle John, can you make these spurs fit me?" And there's them. You had a hold of them long ago. They was in that drawer over there. There's none of these them, but I made them for him when he was about 5 years old.
Hmm.
Well, he never did use them. Probably got bucked off or something. And he never did use them. Then he growed and got so big. You can see how wide that is, and see how that's turned out at that one side. And them colored people, I think, got wide feet anyway. And he lost that other one, mate to this. And boy, he hated to tell me. But anyway, he wanted me to make them others fit him.
Mm-hmm.
I said, no, Clinton, I can't do that. But I said, I'll make you a pair and trade you for these. So that's how come him with these. And he bulldogged.
Oh.
And his dad was a professional bulldogger, and they had a sale barn across the river from Henrietta. No, not Henrietta. Burke Burnett.
Burke Burnett.
They lived right across the river and down just a little ways from Burke Burnett, because you know where Bowley is?
Yes, I do.
That's where their address is.
Oh, uh-huh.
And so I made him another pair, and he'd already sent me this spur up here, and I didn't want to try to mate it.
Mm-hmm.
For one thing, it's 3/16, and I don't like to work with that thick of metal anyway. But
It's harder to work with that size, that thickness.
That 1/8 inch behind you there, it's stout enough.
Mm-hmm.
Time I heat it 2 or 3 times and dip it, and then beat around on it, it gets pretty stiff.
Tell me about that bit there.
Well,
It's all finished out.
as finished as I could get them.
Mm-hmm. Is that what they look like?
It ain't like Wayne's.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that boy up there that was at that trade show at Medicine Lodge, he wanted me to make him a pair of spurs. And I said, well, Howard, I want you to make me a pair. I've been wanting one of your pairs of spurs for quite a while. And I said, you'll be getting the short end of the deal, because he really puts a lot of finish on his. I'm sorry, I can't find them that he made. And I don't know where they could be.
Oop, that one dropped. Okay, George is holding some more things here.
But he, old Jeff, I said, he'll be getting the short end of the deal on the Spurs, and Jeff said, Jeff Wade, the saddle maker over here at Barndall, he said he can finish him after he gets them. And that was the oddest. I know how Howard felt. He just ducked his head like that. He wondered, well, what in the world does John think about that? This one shank was bent real bad. And I got him straightened out now. But I don't know who to send it to.
Well, maybe they'll be at the trade show this year, and they'll ask you about it.
That'll be the only way I'm going to find out probably. I'll take this up there, and maybe he'll be there.
Maybe so. Maybe so. Okay, what else did we get out here?
Send these up. Your first.
This is the first pair I ever made. And for a long time, I just made them with this little round shank. The only thing hard about that was splitting that.
Oh, I bet that would be hard. How did you do that?
I had a saw, chop saw, and I'd hold it into that. Let's see, this pair here, Karen, them shanks there are 3-piece. These outsides are different. And then I sandwich a piece 3/8 right in between them. And them rounds are 3/16. I mean, the piece I put in here is 3/16. You know, them sit on the heels of a brand new pair of Beck boots that right there on the end of that bench, I know for over a year, these Spurs was on them boots. Just sitting, and they were David boots. David Head's one that I made them for. He was going to come up here and cut the silver out. I was going to kind of show him how. And then I'd put it on for him. But he's got a church, and then he's got 3 kids, and he's got 3 jobs, and he just don't have time. And he used to come up a lot and we'd ride. Well, he ain't got time to do that anymore, and so I bet I've had 12 or 15 people want to buy these. His name's on here somewhere. I think I see it in there. It says David. Right under this inside button. If I put their brand on or their name on the outside, like if I put Karen out here in silver letters, I'd put your initials under this button right here.
What would be the reason for that?
Well, I just don't put their name on both sides. I'll put if I put their brand on the outside, I'll put their name on the inside. Just stamp it. But the outside, I'll put it in silver or copper. Going way now, I'm worried about them Spurs. Surely they'll show up. I hope.
Tell me about your community, Wynona. How has it changed over the years?
I don't know. It's kind of passed me up. It's a lot different than it used to be. That old restaurant up there was kind of a landmark in this town, wasn't it? You remember that? How everybody that come in there they'd always stop there. They'd come through here to pay their taxes in Alaska, and they'd stop at that restaurant. They'd come over here from Barnesville to eat. And Nona was just kind of known for that, wasn't it? Wynona was known for its restaurants. I always said, when they lose them old cooks, it'll all be over. That's just exactly what happened. One by one, we lost them old cooks. And they tried selling it, and other people wanted to run it. But it never did, it never was the same. Well, I'd go up every morning at 4 o'clock. I'd be the first one there, and I'd make the first pot of coffee. And then if I needed to see somebody or talk to somebody that day, well, I'd tell Pat Powell, so-and-so comes in, tell him I need to talk to him or something. She was a landmark here, I guess you'd call her.
Mhm.
She is there every morning and kind of run the thing. And she just died last year too.
Mhm. What was the name of that restaurant?
Wynona, her Violet and Carl's. What was it?
Violets, I think.
Violet and Carl's.
Violet and Pearls. Mm-hmm.
And then this other one up here, if I had a bunch of people around here, we'd ride up there and tie our horses up across behind there, or to that fence there by it. And you know these bloomer trailers, them bloomer horse trailers, they're really nice. George, you've seen them. Them headquarters in them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bloomer used to come up here
Hmm.
with James Hargrove from Prague, Oklahoma. And they both rode mules.
Hmm.
And they'd come up here, bring their mules, and we'd ride. Then we'd go to the Western noon. And then of the evening, we'd go to Teresa's. But all that's changed now. They took that old Wynona restaurant down board by board.
Hmm. It's kind of sad then, wasn't it?
Then they opened one up somebody opened one up across the street to the Highway 99 on the east side, on the far end of town.
Mm-hmm.
But shoot, they wouldn't stay open.
Hmm.
If it stayed open a year, I doubt it. If it's ever open a year at a time, I doubt it. And I didn't know them people.
What's some local history that you enjoy of this area? Some of the local history.
Well, I could write the short stories on things that's happened here in Wynona, but I don't think you want to hear them.
Oh, okay.
They'd have to be edited.
What about different activities that you attend and enjoy? You said you have a nephew that ropes and you like to go watch him? Mm-hmm. Do you go to church? You do? You enjoy that?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you go to church here?
I'm registered right down here at this little church under the hill, but I went up here at this one Assembly of God for years.
Mm-hmm.
But my daughter, she's got to go into that Mormon church on the east side of Pahaska, and I go with her. One reason because she wants to go and I want her to go, and I go with her and I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Good.
There's several cowboys goes there because they work on that ranch. That Oklahoma. What is that? Sooner Land and Cattle? Is that what they call that? Sooner Land and Cattle. They own more country in Osage County than anybody. Maybe in the world, I don't know. The Mormon Church.
Mm-hmm.
And them guys are pretty good hands. They're good cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've been everywhere, and they're interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them's from the west, from the west. But now there's one there that I really like, and he's was born and raised in Florida.
Do you
He's talked enough. I know I don't want to go down there. I wouldn't want a cowboy down there.
Do you have some favorite old hymns that you enjoy?
Oh, I like all the old timey songs.
Mm-hmm.
Nona, did you ever hear Daddy play and sing?
Mm.
They used to have music parties all around here. They'd meet at somebody's house. Hockenberry's was a big one, and they'd play and sing. Neighbors. He could play about anything, but his shoulders was bad, and it hurt him to play the fiddle. Probably holding it up.
Mm-hmm.
And he could pick up piano because he wouldn't have to wouldn't bother his shoulders.
Mm-hmm. Was music part of your life when you were young?
Yeah, but Bobette and me, my sister and me, we can't play anything. I can't hardly play radio. And she thinks she can play a little, but she can't.
Oh.
She picks at. She's got 2 or 3 guitars. I tell you what, that music is a gift.
It is.
My dad, he didn't know one note from another. He just played by ear. Now my mother, she could play kind of both ways. And she could play a little bit by ear, and she kind of had a pretty good ear. And my little sister Jane, she can play both ways. She can beat that piano too. That's all she can play. She gave lessons here in Wynona for a while.
Oh.
The little girl that plays every graduation, she taught her how to play.
Oh.
Nona, didn't Teeny die? Didn't Teeny pass away? She's the one that played the piano at our graduations.
Really?
There might be one graduate, or the biggest class I ever seen graduate here was 12.
Do they still have schools here in Wynona? Mm-hmm.
I've been here 60 years, and they've talked about just quitting this school ever since I've been here. They built that little new gymnasium.
You talked a little earlier about some spurs that you were making for the Cattlemen's Association. Is that right?
Osage County, I've tried to get them to get somebody else to do it, but they won't. And I think I made them about 40 years for them.
Oh.
And I think the reason they won't quit is because everybody knows me. And I made them for them so long that they won't get anybody else to make them.
Mm-hmm.
And now Eddie J, he's a member of that Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association out of Oklahoma City. And this is their 70th anniversary. And I've got an order there in that blank book for him. And I got to have all of them made by June.
Oh.
And I think that I'm so far behind on my bits. I think I'll just maybe work on spurs an hour a day.
Mm-hmm.
Till I get them all done. See, you gotta make these hinges and the buttons. These buttons are a 1/4 inch carriage bolt. and I got to cut them shoulders off of them underneath here, and then drill a hole and cut them on, put them through there, and weld them on that side there. You gotta make them, and then you gotta cut these slots out for them, and then you gotta put them on, and then you gotta make the shanks and the rowels, and then silver them. I've kind of got so sorry on these that I make for the association here in Osage County, and the trouble is, you never know who's going to win them. One year there was a mechanic that dealt in old cars from Pennsylvania, won them. Now what he wouldn't have one bit of use for it. And I tried my best to buy them off of him. There's just been about once that I've been able to buy them back. Because I got people that will buy them from me. Because of people that's been raised here. They'll buy them from me. And Nona, do you remember that lady and her husband? Their names was, they had that place right on the corner up here, right? You go right up Highway 99, it's set right there on the corner. Frank Rayleigh. And they had the drugstore in Pasco.
Oh, yeah.
You remember him?
No, I know Jeff Rayleigh.
Her and Mom are good friends. But they'll buy every pair I can get. And I think I believe I've got them 2 pair over the years. Is all I have been able to buy.
Do you donate these, or do those associations pay you for them?
If it was just members, I'd probably donate them or donate half the price if they were just members. But I hate to donate a pair and somebody from New York wins them that I don't even know or heard of. I hate to give them to them, to them kind of people that I don't know them. Now, every year she'll give me a check for $200 and give me a year's membership. Jeannie will every year, and I get 2.5 if I don't. If it wasn't for the association, I'd get 2.5 for them.
So, in 2016, you were a special honoree for the Osage Cattlemen's Association, I think.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Probably.
Yeah, I think it was.
Probably they wanted to set me up front. I said, "Sis, I want you to go up there with me. I'm not going to go up there." My stepdaughter, I said, "I'm not going up there by myself." And she went with me and sat up there at that table. And everybody that had some of my things brought it and put it on that table.
Oh. Was that fun?
It didn't matter that much.
It did. Was it fun to see that?
Oh, yeah, it was kind of interesting.
What do you think about the Ben Jonson Museum?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know how in the world that old kid put all that together. Do you, Nona?
Nope.
You've been in it. You've never been in it?
No, you took Wayne and Joe Bob, but you didn't take me.
I'll tell you, it's amazing.
We went in it last year. We came up Memorial Day weekend and saw the Indian horse relay races. And we went to the museum.
What do you think of them races?
That was interesting.
Wow.
Some of those horses look kind of skinny.
I thought they all did. They, I don't know. I wouldn't go back.
Did
I was
you
there
go
one
last year?
evening. I wanted to, you know, I've just seen them. I just heard of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to go up there and see it. So I went up there Friday evening, and it was kind of rainy.
Oh, slippery then.
And I don't know that riding bareback running, and they run them all the way around that track. Them poor old horses. They never did change it. They don't. I don't.
I knew
Yeah,
it.
that's what they do.
They change.
Yeah, they change. That's the relay. They jump off one horse and jump on the other one. And is it 4 or 3? But anyway, they go around, and that's what gets wild is the jumping off one and then jumping on the other. Sometimes they miss, or the horse jumps, another horse jumps into them. And
You
so
get
they have
that
some
many
pretty good
Indians
wrecks.
together, I bet they was all half drunk.
But it was kind of fun to watch. Yeah, when I was a kid, we did stuff like that, and yeah, it's
Well,
Well,
I wouldn't go back, but I guess some people enjoyed it.
it was crowded on Saturday, the day we went. The grandstand was full, and there were people all around watching.
That cavalcade's something else. That's the biggest drinking party I ever seen. This one old boy, he broke his arm the first day up there, and he just stayed drunk till it was over, and then he went to the doctor. You all probably knew him. I can't think of his name. It'll come to me though. But that's I've heard people say, "Oh, that's the best rodeo you ever seen." Well, they ain't seen very many rodeos. That's the poorest rodeo you'll ever see.
Are you talking about the Ben Johnson Rodeo at Pawhuska?
Yeah, okay.
Cavalcade?
It's in July.
It's in July. Is it at Pawhuska?
It's an amateur one, yeah.
An
They
amateur
don't
rodeo.
have
80 years,
they don't have
maybe?
a Ben Johnson rodeo there anymore.
Oh, they don't?
They had the Elks put on one for a few years, and it was really good. It was an RCA rodeo, and it was good.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people think that convention is the same thing as that cavalcade, but it ain't.
Oh.
Now they'll have that Ben Johnson Memorial Steer Roping during the convention.
Mm-hmm.
The Oklahoma Cattlemen's Convention used to put that steer roping on, but they quit. They quit putting that steer roping on, and Tom and Lou Ann put it on now, and I think they do a good job, but I don't know how long it'll last. The first year, they had 2 planes come over, and they parachuted out of it and hit the ground. One of them had the Oklahoma flag, one of them had the American flag. They hit the ground, and all them ropers went out from the chutes and held that flag up. And I'm going to see it again. Well, it was cloudy or something. They didn't have it last year. I think it's on account of the weather.
Well, in 2020, this worldwide pandemic came, this COVID-19. Did that affect your life in any way?
I didn't already know what was going on. I didn't pay much attention to it, but a lot of people did. And they shut a lot of things down.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't shut the steer roping down, did they? Didn't they have the Ben Johnson steer roping? Or not?
I don't remember.
They had it. They probably didn't have much. You know, I think Tom Llewellyn had it in 21 and in 20 and 21, didn't they? Nona, didn't they have it in? They've had it 2 years, didn't they?
They went ahead and had the cavalcade too, I think.
Huh?
I think they did the cavalcade too, didn't they? They didn't do the cavalcade that one year?
Nona, I'm not going to say for sure, but I don't think so. I don't think they did. I don't think they ever done that cavalcade. Who would have done that thing?
I can't remember.
What are some ways Oklahoma has changed during your lifetime?
Oh my. I can see many things have changed, just like the cowboying has changed. They went from feeding horseback to feeding in the car. And these guns that they shoot them with has come out.
For doctoring?
And I don't even know. I never have seen one of them. Have you ever seen one of them, Wayne? One of them guns?
Not up close.
The putting up hay has changed. I guess they can't get any hay haulers anymore. When we was kids, that's all we done every summer was haul hay. Well, I guess they can't get any hay haulers anymore, so they put up round bales, big round bales, and they stick them prongs in them on the front end of the loader of a tractor and load them on wagons and take them to where they want to stack them or something, or take them to West Texas or wherever they're going to take them to. That'd be the most I'd know would just be in agriculture. I don't know much about.
What are some things that haven't changed, that are still the same in agriculture?
I don't know, Wayne, what would you think? The way they put out crops is still the same, ain't it? They got wheat drills, don't they?
All got bigger.
It's just got.
All the machinery bigger. Farming machinery. A lot less horse work on the ranches.
Well, I'll tell you that. I'll tell you one thing is these places have. There's a lot more bigger places and a lot less fewer places. 50 or 75 years ago, there was a lot of 100 cow places. They could make a living if they had 100 cows. Everybody had a milk cow, and they had an old '49 Chevrolet pickup with a short, narrow bed and a 3-speed on the column. That was the only vehicle they had, and they used it on a week if they used one, and then they went to church in it on Sunday, and a lot of people had a sow. They had their own pork and beef and milk and butter, and they had a dozen hens, and they had their own eggs, and you could just about make it.
Mm-hmm.
If you had enough grass, you could just about make it. But you see few and few of them anymore, don't you, Wayne? You see very fewer and fewer of people making it on the farm by themselves. I watched that country music channel on TV for 2 or 3 winters, and they showed all that. You know, there's one gal that's really country, and I don't think she's that much put on. And that's Loretta Lynn.
Mm-hmm. Did your grandpa, Israel, did he speak Cherokee? You remember him speaking Cherokee?
Yeah, my dad could pretty well speak it,
And your dad could? Mm-hmm.
but they didn't seem to care for us kids knowing how to speak it. But when I was a kid going to school out there, I'd hear them kids talking amongst themselves.
Mm-hmm.
There was different schools would come to Oklahoma City to the fair. And I remember one busload of kids from Stillwell come up there, and they were almost all Indian. And we stopped at that county line restaurant that it was a Mexican restaurant in Oklahoma City. You know where it is?
No,
Karen?
sir, I don't.
George, you know where that used to be?
Nope. Oklahoma
It
City.
was right there by the cowboy capital, that museum, and
I don't remember what.
it was on the county line, I think.
Huh.
And we just happened to stop in there. I guess we'd been to the fair, showing some horses probably down there. My nephew and me, we started out showing some real nice quarter horses. And we went from them we started out on the apps, some real nice apps.
Appaloosas?
And then we went to the paints. We won about everything with the apps, but Western Pleasure, and neither one of us knew how to ride one of them. But we went to the paints, and we won with them. And then we went to I'll tell you the way it was. We started out with the real nice quarter horses, is where we started. And then we went to the apps, then we went to the paints, and I told little Ralph, I said, Ralphie, we started where we already started at the top, we started at the bottom. And all I know, he said, well, we got one more go, and that's the mules. You know, they have mule shows anymore.
Hmm.
And Weed does that. He shows them mules. My another nephew. I've got 4 nephews. My sister had 5 kids.
Which sister was that?
Bobette.
Bobette.
She.
What does it mean to you to be Cherokee?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. We're lucky we got them cards. Wayne, you got one. Nona, you got. You don't have one.
Nope.
Your tribe don't give you one. Are you civilized?
Nope. Just the heathens.
There's 5 civilized tribes.
Yeah, I'm not one of those.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
Apache.
Wayne, I don't know what to think about you. Wayne's got a card,
Mm-hmm.
Cherokee card.
Mm-hmm.
What about them grandkids?
Yeah.
They got them, but you can't get one, Nona.
No.
Look like you could sneak in there somewhere.
But you have a card,
Oh yeah,
and your nephews have cards.
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any kids? No.
I got a stepdaughter.
And that's who you go to church with sometimes? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you have your grandson. We met your grandson. He seems like a nice young man.
I raised him.
Did you? Uh-huh.
We had hard luck with that girl when she got about 14 or 15. And then she had them 2 little boys when she was in her 20s, early 20s, and left.
Do you still have any horses? One horse? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's farmed out. He's just what I need. He's just about that tall. With a little help, I can get on him.
Oh.
But he's not a babysitter. But he's a good little pony.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of looks like a small thoroughbred.
Huh.
And but he ain't no babysitter. And if I was here by myself and got about half on and he walked off, you know what happened? I'd fall on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get this leg over. That hip doctor, he ruined my hips, and that dentist ruined my teeth.
It's just heck getting old, isn't it?
You know, just like we was talking yesterday, I had to go to the doctor, and old John Clark took me, but I said, Snell, a good friend of mine, he said, I wish somebody could tell me one thing there is good about getting old. And I told that to Charlene's stepmother. And I told her about that, and she said, well, food tastes better. Well, it don't to me.
What do you want people to remember about you?
Just what I am, I guess. Of course, when they see something I've made, they'll probably remember me then.
They will. They will. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like to share?
I can't think of anything, just what I am.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've really been honored to spend this time with you and that you would participate in an interview with me like this.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you doing it.
Well, I really appreciate it. I think we're gonna have to, we'll have to all go get some lunch now, probably, here pretty quick. I have one more, we need to put
Drop
those things
that
back, yeah.
spur in that bucket, and this one in there with it, and them two in there with it.
Okay.
They'll drop them in there with it, and then put that sack on top of it. That'll keep that my klepto out.
Mm-hmm.
It really ain't going to, but it might help. I sent this bed off to that kid over Delaware County. He's got a horse trainer, kind of. He wants to be,
Oh,
and he's half Cherokee.
Oh.
And his daddy was a white man. His daddy was a squaw man. I don't know what you'd call Nona and Wayne. His squaw ain't even registered. I guess what would you call Nona?
well, she's her own tribe. She's from her own tribe.
But anyway, this kid, his dad was a white man, his mother was a Cherokee. And he's a nice kid. But he ordered this bit, and then I sent it to him. He sent it back. He said he wanted a solid shank bit, one that don't turn like this, like that when I'm making.
Mm-hmm.
Both these are swivels, and he said he wanted a solid one, and he never did use this bit. He never did even try it, and so I made him a solid one and sent it back to him. And then he sent it to me, and he said to cut an inch off of these shanks of that one, that solid one. Well, I won't hardly change a bit because I'll just keep him and make him another one. And so I kept that one. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. I kept that solid one, and I sent him another one with pretty short shanks, and it swiveled like this. And I thought, well, surely he'll keep this one. It ain't just what he wanted, but I'm tired of him. And I thought, I'm tired of making him trying to please him. He was, I believe, worse than that undertaker from New York.
Oh goodness.
That's how come me with this bid, and I wouldn't have it, but I put it in that drawer and kind of forgot about it. But I've had so many places I could send it.
Mm-hmm.
But I get more for it on account of that curl in the center. I kind of forgot about having it in that drawer, but since I've kept it, and another thing I do, I make them where they're snag proof. See, you do yours too, don't you, Wayne?
Some of them.
See how if they stick it through the fence, it'll come out.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I don't know what he stuck it through, but it didn't come out. that one shank was turned almost straight back. And I heated it up and turned it back, and I don't know who it goes to, but I was going to tell him, now, don't use that bit if you're gonna do a hard day's work or something, or somebody's gonna be using it every day, but I said it would be all right for kids to ride around in the yard, or some girl to just use it. It'd be all right. But I don't think it'll hold up. And that's the reason I don't make these with this right here where I have to heat it. They're too weak.
That bend right.
Now I do make some now out of this size, but I use them bolts that Wayne got me to use. They got 3 marks on the head. What's that equivalent to, Wayne? 5? Well, I can't believe that material is that tough. No bigger than it is. And I make some long shank bits out of it. I just set one off. But I won't make a real sharp turn in it like I do this. But this type of bit right here, you almost have to have that in order to hold that up. Just a real gentle turn might not hold this up, especially if it got wore a little bit. And I don't put the copper mouthpieces in them anymore.
That used to be pretty popular with that copper, wasn't it?
It still would be if I do it.
Oh.
It would with people that orders from me.
What's the appeal for the copper with people? Why do people like that?
Wayne, what's your idea on why is it better?
They say it keeps it horse and mouth more.
That's what
Who knows? I don't.
that's what I'd always heard was,
Pennies in the water trough supposed to do it too.
Did you have a hard time getting any supplies through the pandemic? Were you able still to get all the supplies you needed?
Well, yeah, I've got a lot of rod down there in that old hen house. Like this right here. See them rods there? They're stuck on that magnet. But there's a crook on each end of them. And these come off of a Bermuda grass digger. And them crooks, they hook into each other. These I call it a conveyor belt, and it turns like this, and it digs in Bermuda grass, roots up, and they shuffle along on top of this belt, and the sand falls through it.
Oh.
This belt is probably as long as me or Wayne, or longer. And this is good, soft spring steel. I don't think I've had over 2 of them broke. And I've got a lot of that. I went to OOHRP, Oklahoma. I can almost call that old gentleman's name out there that made them Bermuda grass diggers. And the day I was there, they was shipping 2 of them out to South America. Surely he ain't the only one that makes them. You'd think these companies would make them, John Deere and them big companies. Do you know if they make them, Wayne, or not?
I don't know.